This week on the Wellness Real Estate Podcast, I invite you to break free from the grip of feeling like you have to hustle every second of the day, energy draining expectations, and scarcity mindset. Because I have Patrina Wisdom on the show, and she's the best-selling author of Anatomy of Abundance, a conscious guide to creating prosperity in all aspects of life. Right here. Patrina is also the CEO and visionary leader of Pure Abundance, Inc., international best-selling author, TEDx speaker, podcast host, creator of Anatomy of Abundance framework, and the founder of Pure Abundance Retreat. She's committed to guiding women in overcoming generational patterns of struggle, scarcity, and fear, and embody a life of pure abundance. As the chief visionary and leader of this special tribe, her mission is to guide high-achieving creatives, entrepreneurs, and corporate women from diverse backgrounds back to their authentic selves. Pure Abundance, Inc. is not just a company. They're creating an #anti-hustle culture movement. Their transformative programming and high-end retreat experiences are designed to shift mindsets, creating a journey from scarcity to abundance. Patrina believes in the boundless potential within each individual, offering a roadmap for embodied abundance. So, if you're feeling like your real estate business is too much work and you want to achieve more balance in your life, or maybe you're just really worried about where your next sale is coming from, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Wellness Real Estate Podcast, where you'll discover a groundbreaking strategy that is transforming real estate marketing. In every episode, we focus on topics that will help you have more authentic engagements and meaningful conversations about your business. As the wellness real estate impact grows, with projections reaching $850 billion by 2027, don't miss this opportunity to revolutionize your approach, generate more leads, and increase sales, becoming the community connector you're meant to be. I'm Sheila Alston, and I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Healthy Home Media, where I help agents all over the country leverage this new trend in the industry to spark new conversations that get people to listen to you and notice your brand. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels without the consistent leads to show for it, then stay tuned. This podcast is your guide to standing out in a rapidly evolving market, guaranteed to change the way you think about real estate marketing. Hey, I'm so excited to have Patrina Wisdom here on the show today. She is an author and so much more, but I brought her on because I'm reading her book right now. I don't know if you can read this the way it is, but it's Anatomy of Abundance. And it is so good. I haven't finished it, but I've just gotten into about the middle. And I just feel like this would benefit realtors so much because so often, there's stress on when's the next sale going to happen? When's the next sale? So I'd love to just reach in and grab some of your wisdom so that you can share on how we can bring more abundance into our lives. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here. I know so many real estate agents who, in reality, it's entrepreneurship in general, but the difference between traditional entrepreneurs and real estate agents, I find, is the way they handle the downturns and the lower times. With entrepreneurs, we're like super trained to just ride the wave and be in flow in regard to that. And it's something we almost expect. Whereas I feel like with real estate, there's this hustle culture. There's this like always in the game, always in the chase, be at the beck and call of your potential clients or your clients at all times. One of the biggest things I see with real estate agents is that they're so tied to their phones.
Yeah.
It's like they almost feel like they cannot not be available. And in the eyes of myself, someone who has completely divorced hustle culture and has chosen to create a life around ease and an abundance mindset and really just knowing that's what for me will find me. Mm-hmm. That being tied to the phone just does not work. And it's just not a way to live. And I think as a culture, we have gotten so consumed and programmed with hustle culture and achievement and success on other people's terms that we've lost ourselves and we're completely disconnected. We're feeling lonely. And then during the downturns, we start to beat ourselves up and it chips away at our worth. Totally. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. But maybe before we get started, I think that your story is so just touching. And I feel like, gosh, if you can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes.
So maybe you can touch a little bit on your story and how you came about understanding these abundant, how to create
Yeah.
abundance.
Absolutely. So it's very interesting because I've had quite the journey being raised with a single mom who had me at a very young age. She was 16 years old. She didn't really know what she was doing, let's be honest, right? And so I, at a certain point, kind of raised my mom. And
Mm-hmm.
in that, the only thing I had available to me as far as how to live my life, how to create my life, was examples of what not to do. Not to say that my mom didn't do an amazing job and that,
Mm-hmm.
all of the people in my family aren't great in their own right. But there were a lot of things that I saw where I was like, I don't choose that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I really spent my life kind of making choices that might have been contrary to what everybody thought I should do. And that actually worked in my favor because it built my self esteem, it built my confidence in myself, it built my trust in myself. And I really learned to embrace challenges and lean into them to find the
Mm-hmm.
gift on the other side. And thank God I developed that practice over the years, because if you fast forward to 2009, I'm a girl who never wanted to get married, have kids, or any of that stuff. I did not fantasize about the white picket fence, but somehow I met a man, I fell in love. And the next thing you know, I've got 3 kids, 2 houses, 2 cars, and the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And once I got it, I definitely fell in love with that lifestyle. But in 2009, it was after the downturn in the financial markets in
Mm-hmm.
2008. And my husband was in the financial business, unfortunately. So
Mm-hmm.
he fell into a depression unbeknownst to myself, totally functioning, had no idea. And then on January 6th of 2009, he went missing for 24 hours. And the next day, I found out he had taken his own life.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry about that too. I
yeah,
mean, I can't even imagine. I've been married for almost 30, well, 28 years or so, and I have 3 kids. So
yeah,
just reading your story, I was like, oh my gosh, how could you even move forward after something like that? I mean,
yeah.
eventually you have to, but
Your best friend, your
yeah,
lover. He
yeah.
was also the person that, because I didn't grow up with prosperity, abundance, money, or any of those things, and not a lot of structure, he was also the person I looked to, in a lot of ways, guide my life,
Mm-hmm.
and keep me grounded. And
Mm-hmm.
so when he was gone, that was a huge loss for me because I felt like I had become so strong in who I was as a person, as a mom, as a wife, and also as an entrepreneur. And the other part of the story is that if that wasn't bad enough, I also found out I was pregnant with my fourth child on the same
Oh,
day he passed away.
wow.
And if that wasn't enough, it was also my daughter's 13th birthday, and I was like throwing a birthday party. So literally,
Oh
it
my
was one of
gosh.
those situations where anything that could go wrong kind of went wrong on that
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a choice to make. Like, am I going to be a victim and just, sit here, cry, and, fall apart? Or am I going to choose to become a victor over my situation? So obviously, I chose the latter. And it
It
was
took
in
you some
that
time
moment.
though, right? Like you didn't make that choice
No,
right away
no,
or
no. One thing about me is I burn through stuff really fast. And I
mm-hmm.
don't say that necessarily as a positive thing, because at the time, it wasn't a positive thing because I
Mm-hmm.
just sort of checked out, glazed over it, put my grief on a shelf, and just went into automatic. But the truth of the situation is that most people live on automatic. They're
Mm-hmm.
disconnected from their emotions. They're not in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this like year and a half period was when I started to live how most of society lives. Like just going through the motions and doing what I should do and what people
Mm-hmm.
expect me to do and all of that. And what I realized is that that wasn't really the way to live my life because it was coming from a place of scarcity. It
Yes.
was, I'm not going to be a victim. No matter what, come hell or high water, I'm going to make it. I'm going to continue to be successful. I'm going to raise these kids and I'm going to prove that to everybody out there that I can do it. Right. So it's great for inspiration. However, when you are so committed to come hell or high water, you create hell and high water.
True, right? That's the whole hustle mentality, right?
Yes. So creating
Yeah.
from that space of scarcity and like proving and pushing and forcing, then brought a lot of challenge over, X number of years. And it wasn't really until probably about 6 to 8 years ago that I started to realize that the times where I'm really taking care of myself and where I'm just more easeful, more intentional, more grounded, that was when I actually created the best stuff, made the most money, just all the things. And so that was when I really shifted my messaging, because aside from having my own business in transformational space for, geez, almost 30 years, I also inherited my husband's financial business when he passed. So I was like juggling all these things, and it took me a long time to figure out how to bring them together. But the result of that is the Anatomy of Abundance framework and the book
Good.
and all the things. Yeah.
So, okay, so now that we know, so you had this tremendous tragedy and you were able to work through it and find, really who you are and move past that. And you said that you just decided you weren't going to live that hustle life. What was it that, did you have a trigger, or what, did you just fall into this framework? What happened that led you to realize that this is what was working for you and how you were getting out of the hustle mentality?
Well, I started to just feel really disconnected. I got to a point, so I've always been someone who had a very clear vision about what I was creating and how I was going to impact people and the legacy that I was living. And there was a certain point when I was running my business, my transformation business, and juggling the financial business, where I was like, I kind of lost sight of why I'm doing it in the first place. Like, what is it all for? It just wasn't worth it. And I think that many people listening to this can relate that sometimes we get so caught up in making a living that we forget to live our life. And so from the outside looking in, it looked like life was great. Like, I'm handling things, I'm traveling, I'm doing all of that. But deep inside of myself, I knew I was disconnected from my purpose and that I wasn't fully aligned with like what I'm here to do. And I'm very spiritual. So like, spirit speaks to me all day long. I says bully me. I say bullies me because most of the things I've created in like the last 30 years, I never would have created if spirit didn't kind of guide me down that direction. So yeah, it was just kind of a wake up call. It was like,
Yeah.
stop, like, you're pushing 50 years old, lovely, right?
Yeah.
Like, you really need to realign and intentionally move forward, full force ahead, towards what you're here to do. And so now I'm 50, and I feel like over the last probably 3, 4 years is when I've felt the most aligned, the most connected, and like I'm fully on track to leave the legacy that I want to leave.
Well, so just when you just said the whole, how you were feeling disconnected, I feel like that's such a typical real estate mindset too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And
you're hustling all the
financial.
time and you feel
Yes.
like you can't not work because it's providing you
Yes.
this lifestyle, but then you're
Mm-hmm.
working 24/7, you're always on the phone. I know realtors who don't even take vacation. They're
Yeah.
vacationing with clients, or so they're always kind of, working.
On.
And yeah, they're always on, right? And their friends are some of their clients. So they're,
Yes.
whining and dining with their clients. They never feel like they get a break because they're always in that
Mm-hmm.
hustle mentality. So what
Yeah.
advice would you give to them to kind of shift that, to start moving towards developing the future that they want and still bring in the money, but be able
Yes.
to enjoy it with their family? Because that's why you get into it in the first place, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And that was actually the main issue I used to have with my husband, who was in the financial. And it's that, like, what is it all for? And so what I've learned is that we just need to give ourselves permission to schedule and prioritize our own self-care. We're the most important relationship we have in our lives. Secondarily should be our spouses or partners. And believe it or not, our kids should be third on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we systemize everything else, right? We've got our business plan. We've got this. We've got a childcare plan or whatever. Everything else has a plan except for our own sovereignty in essence, right? Our own self, our self-care, our soul care. And so for myself, I started to really schedule myself into my calendar, which was life changing. I would schedule myself, but I also would create space in my calendar to um, map out the roadmap for how I want to live. And so that also included business planning, but in a way that supported my life instead of the other way around.
Well, so what do you say to agents who are like, well, I can't plan for that stuff though, because I'm
Yes.
always on call and I don't know if someone calls me right then, like I don't want to miss the lead. Like, what do I do about that?
So this is the best question. So in preparation for this call, I was thinking about it because again, I know many of these type of realtors that are just like
Hmm.
slaves to their business, right?
Hmm.
And the reality of the situation is when you stop, if you stop, it's all going to end, right? Like that's the scarcity
Hmm.
mindset that they're
Hmm.
creating from is like,
Hmm.
if I drop a ball, it's all over, right?
Hmm.
And so with that understanding, part of that is because you're trading time for money. So one of the things that is needed is to create other ways of bringing in income, other streams of income, obviously investing, things of that nature.
Hmm.
But there's a huge mindset shift that needs to take care of. So I wrote down some do's and don'ts.
Okay. Good.
so, so my don'ts during a downturn in business is don't panic,
Hmm.
don't focus on lack, and don't frantically go out there and just start pushing business cards to every single person you see. Because unfortunately, there's a little bit of a stigma with, real estate agents because it seems like everybody's a real estate agent. And
Hmm.
so you really need to build relationship and you've got to get creative and build from an intentional and abundant space in regard to like how you market yourself. Also, don't rely on social media because these days everybody thinks, oh, I'll just put a post on Instagram and there we go, right? And that's
Yeah.
not necessarily what people are seeking. Things shift. And so right
Hmm.
now, people are seeking connection. I know for myself personally, I was like, I want to be more in person with people again. I want to touch people. I want to hug people. And so here's some do's. You want to shift your mindset. Instead of dwelling on the scarcity of the leads and the low business, you want to cultivate a mindset of abundance and focus on the opportunities that do exist. I think
Hmm.
that when things are slower, you actually recognize those possibilities more, and now you have the time.
Yeah.
Remind yourself of past successes and visualize outcomes. But a specific practical thing to do is to take time to check in with your body and your mind and start to regulate your nervous system. Because when you're constantly in go mode, your nervous system is like going nuts. And then when fear or scarcity or things of that like that set in, that actually can trigger trauma, which can make you
Hmm.
even more unproductive than any other time. So use that downtime to really check in with yourself and see where adjustments might be needed. The second thing that you do want to do is you want to leverage your network, right? They are the
Yeah.
most valuable asset that we all have. So reach out to past clients, colleagues, family members, friends. Let them know that you're available for real estate transactions. Ask for personal referrals. My favorite question is, who do you know? Who do you
Yeah.
know who's having a baby? Who do you know who, needs more space? Just who do you know? Who do you know? And maybe even have a little impromptu, informal client mixer of some kind where you can have an opportunity. Tell them, hey, bring some friends. I'm having a little cocktail party at my house, right? Get creative. You also want to diversify your marketing efforts. So explore marketing channels to expand your reach and attract new clients. And like I said, right now, what's working for me is doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing, which is in person stuff, right?
Hmm.
And so create your own stage, host workshops, small events to attract new clients, right? Spotlight other aligned professionals, right?
Hmm.
People that you work with who share your values and share your market. And then be of service. Align with your other organizations that have shared values, like market, and see how maybe you can collaborate and add value to each other. That's a great time for this.
It is. I like to think of it as like it's the time to plant seeds, right? It's the time to
Exactly.
cultivate relationships and then you reap those seeds that you've planted later on, because everybody
Yes.
who's in the relationship business knows that it's a long game. You're not in it to get rich quick, right? You're providing
Yes.
value, and when you're giving value, then you're going to reap it back. And I
Yeah.
do think that what's really important, though, too, is I feel like there's a lot of agents making a lot of friends, but then they're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about their business, right?
Yes.
And if all
Yes.
you say when someone meets you is, I'm a realtor, then they're kind of
No.
putting you in that bucket of realtors that they already
No.
know.
Right.
And when it comes time to sell their house, even if they're friends with 10 realtors, they're probably not going to call you because they don't want to pick friends or pick
Yeah,
sides. So they'll just choose who's ever sold the most on their street, right? So you
it's
kind of have to
true.
do these things to plant seeds, get out ahead of it, and take the opportunity to talk about your business and how you're different. And that's why I love
Mhm.
wellness real estate. I know I was telling you about it a little bit, but it's just such
Yes.
an opportunity to bridge your business and have more conversations about real estate without having to talk about the market or interest rates
Hmm.
and things like that. And it
Well, yeah,
gives you
it's
the
all about
opportunity.
building the relationship.
Yeah,
All about
and
building
to be
it.
able to say, I care about you, I care about my clients, I want you to all live healthy, and
Yes.
you're getting out ahead of it instead of chasing leads, later on, which kind of feeds into that
Yeah.
whole
I think the people
scarcity
who have the
mindset.
most success are the people who give first.
Hmm.
So I would always teach my team to give, ask
Hmm.
minimally, just as a
Hmm.
little, kind of system, because I love systems.
Yeah, yeah.
Give, ask. So yeah, you're going to share who you are and what you do. Ask a lot of questions, find out what
Hmm.
their biggest challenges are and who they need
Hmm.
to connect with. And then they're really going to remember you because that builds trust, right?
Right, exactly.
So, offering value along that same line, offering value, positioning yourself as a trusted advisor and expert in your industry. So, that means like speaking on stages, whether it's a luncheon or a big conference or whatever it is, really start to connect with the right people who have groups of folks that you can then build relationship with, but also host your own. Because I am not one to just sit around and wait for other people's opportunities. I literally will create my own,
Yes. But what do
And
you say to
yeah.
someone who's like nervous about speaking in front of people, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they think they can't do that? They can still do something though, right?
Another way to build a ton of credibility and relationship with other professionals is to provide a stage and spotlight them. So
Oh,
believe it or
yeah.
not, that's actually, that's a great way because everybody's looking for exposure.
Hmm.
Everyone's looking to, connect with their ideal clients. And so if you're the person who holds that space, I don't know exactly how it works, but it works. I do it all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
But you become like that really respected professional that people are going to go to. So, and
Well,
unselfishly, right?
and you're the community connector. I think every
Yes.
real estate gets into the business because they understand, or they love their community. They've been in the area for a long time. They know the neighborhoods really well. They know a
Yeah.
lot of people. So they get into
Mm-hmm.
the real estate industry and they realize that, gosh, a lot of it is paper pushing and transactional related stuff. And that's
Yeah.
not the fun stuff. It's the
No.
relationships and being the community connector. So
Yeah.
get in tune with that because that's who you really are, right?
Yeah, and if you don't want to be the person to organize, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not the person who wants to be on a stage, because I know that a lot of people don't want to do that. One of the other ways is to really involve yourself with the right communities. Again, your
Mm-hmm.
people equity is the best equity you have. And so get into mastermind groups, go to retreats like the ones that I hold, um, do workshops, attend those things and just
Mm-hmm.
be there. And the key, though, is not just to be there, but to participate. Ask questions when they ask someone to stand up and, do something. Make yourself known in that way. That's another way to actually be the expert. Another of like kind of my little secrets is anytime you attend something and they ask people to do testimonials, always do the testimonial because they're going to spotlight you on their website. They might
Yeah.
end up putting your video on the sizzle reel or whatever. And that's another way. It becomes a way to get brand alignment, respect, and credibility by
Mm-hmm.
aligning with another bigger brand. And so those are some really good tips. You don't have to say a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
just literally sharing from your heart how the experience impacted you, but you have an opportunity to say who you are and what your business is, and a lot of times what area you live in. So just consider like, what are the opportunities that are available to me that maybe you haven't been looking at because you've been functioning from a scarcity mindset and focusing on what you don't have.
Right. I did this. It's so funny. I did this Tony Robbins seminar recently. It was just this boot camp one. But one of the things
Yes.
he did that I thought was so interesting and just kind of puts this to your point is he had everybody close their eyes. And before you did that, he said, look around the room and see what's red. and close your
Yeah.
eyes. Remember that. And then now open your eyes and tell me what's green. And it was
Yes,
like, wait a second. I I was looking for red, not looking for green. So if you are in
exactly.
that scarcity mindset and you're looking for how things are always going to go wrong, you're not going to see the clues. You're not going to know who to reach out to. You're not going to, things aren't going to
Exactly.
come to you. But when you make that decision, that it can just be that decision, like, I'm going to change things, and you start to notice the
Hmm.
good things that are already in your life, and you start to make that shift, all of a sudden you'll have a conversation with the right person. You'll
Yeah.
meet, and you'll be opening new opportunities for yourself. And then those new resources and new relationships will kind of come into your world that weren't there before.
100%. And for some people, they might be thinking, oh, that's woo woo. It's not woo woo, it's actually neurology.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's the reticular activating system within our brain that where your focus goes, energy flows and you
Mm-hmm.
attract things to yourself. So I've been through all Tony Robbins stuff as well
Yeah.
as having a neuro linguistic programming certification myself and featuring a neuroplastician in our book, Anatomy of Abundance. And so
Yeah.
this is something I'm extremely fascinated by because while I am spiritual, I'm also very practical. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like to be able to explain things from both sides. But it's true, just like I said in the beginning, if you say, I'm going to be successful come hell or high water, as positive as that sounds, it's not a good neurological programming because
Mm-hmm.
you'll automatically start attracting the hell and high water. So
So
you want
then
to
what
say
is,
things like,
yeah,
you want to say
sorry.
things like, yeah, you want to say things like business comes to me easily,
Yeah.
frequently, right? Money comes
Mm-hmm.
to me easily, frequently, and in abundance, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the
Mm-hmm.
kind of messages you want to say out
Right.
and think. And you don't have to know the how. That's the best part about this neurological piece is that you don't have to know how. You just have to know what clearly
Mm-hmm.
and why and have a
Yeah.
lot of passion and energy around it. Everything starts to show up. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I do think just this whole journey that I've been on, you just start to become aware of what are the thoughts you are having. And then you notice when you're
Yeah.
self sabotaging, or you
Yeah.
notice when you're starting to be a little more positive. You can even create a little jar where every time you said something negative, you just put, a
Yes.
penny in the jar, and then you notice it a little bit more. You go, oh, okay, maybe I should, what could I say instead that's different?
Yeah.
And once you start that momentum, it does start to happen a lot faster. It takes a little bit in
Yep.
the beginning, but
But
it's
I do want
wonderful.
to be clear that it's not all mindset, which is
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I wrote the book. We really want to bring together the higher laws of spirituality, mindset, psychology, all of these things together with intention, strategy, and
Hmm.
most important, action.
Yes, yes.
Right? So we put these things out there, things show up. We need to have a container that we've already built that's going to get us to where we want to go, a container, a plan, whatever it is, so that we can then put that into that container or that plan and then create momentum moving forward. So I think a lot of people focus on one or the other, and the truth
Hmm.
is they support each other, and that's what I call embodiment. You become an embodiment of abundance.
Well, right, because you could be running out doing a bunch of action that isn't aligned with your
Exactly.
message and what you want, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
wasting your energy, you're not making the right connections, but you're doing, doing, doing. And instead,
Yep.
if you could work backwards, set the foundation, get your
Yes.
right mindset, then take aligned action, it's going to be so much better.
And be clear on who you are and what you want. Because I can't
Hmm.
tell you how many individuals I speak to, specifically women, because I work, primarily with women, but how many people I speak to who have created great wealth, great businesses, great families, like all the things they thought they wanted. And then
Hmm.
they really take time to reconnect. Usually they'll come to my retreat and they have all this space and we take them through this really great curated experience. And by the end, they'll realize things like, wow, I thought I wanted X, Y, and Z, but what I really want and what really feels aligned for me and would make me feel happy and fulfilled is this. And so
Hmm.
sometimes the thing we think we want and that we're fighting so hard to get, and we're like coming up against resistance and wondering, why the hell is this not happening? Is
Yeah,
because it's not for you.
right.
It's not for you. And so I think the clarity and really, really knowing who you are outside of all the distractions that exist and the expectations and your roles, I really think that's the magic pill. And then creating from there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. For anyone who hasn't read this book, you need to go get it. Anatomy of Abundance. And how can they reach out and connect with you, Patrina?
Yeah, so you can visit my website, Pure Abundance Retreat. Oh, well, that is the one. It wasn't the one I was going to say, but pureabundanceretreat.com is my website. We do transformational retreats as well as mastermind retreats. But Patrina Wisdom is more my website where you can come learn more about me and the different offerings that I have. But I'm also all over social media. I actually show up myself to Instagram primarily and Facebook as well. So you can connect with me there also. I'm pretty, available and accessible for people who really need me.
Good. Well, it was such a pleasure talking with you today. I'm so glad I got to know you better,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to getting to know you even more. We're having a lunch
Yes.
together soon.
I'm so
So thank you
excited.
so much. So excited.
Yes, thank you for the invitation. And listen, just keep going, y'all. Just stay in that abundance mindset, stay focused, and it'll all happen for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something that will inspire you to think about your branding and how you can market yourself a little differently. If you enjoyed this episode, then you're going to love what I have for you, because you don't need to wait to go get extra certifications or grow or expand your network to get started attracting new leads right now. You can simply begin by talking about wellness real estate trends and what you've learned on this podcast with others. I mean, this is an interesting topic that no one has heard about, and I have all the tools that can make it even easier for you. Wellness Real Estate Magazine is a brand new wellness lifestyle magazine, and it's the only magazine that brings health and home together. We educate readers on industry trends and how you can create a healthier home environment. Written by industry experts around the country, and we have 3 covers to choose from: Wellness RE, Healthy Home, and Wellness at Home. So you can easily find one that aligns with your unique brand and messaging. These magazines are the perfect done-for-you tools that help you not only stay top of mind, but help you be memorable. They also educate and engage your audience, which positions you as an industry expert. So differentiate yourself and grow your brand the easy way. Learn more at healthyhomemedia.com.